first match of the Stage 3 APAC playoffs.
And look, my eye is certainly on CYCLOPS. I really would love to see Elevate win just because, you know, APAC South things, but I feel like CYCLOPS, you know, they had some stumbles in the stage, but it felt like they were kind of still holding on to some of that form. And they're really good at showing up in these crucial games. We've seen that before. Whereas Elevate, for example, in Stage 2, yeah, they still made a run through that lower bracket. But man, it just felt like stumble after stumble, and eventually they were shut down right at the end. I don't know, I feel like coming into something like the playoffs, my gut feel is that CYCLOPS are going to be showing up here.
They're certainly eager to prove themselves, CYCLOPS, after what has been just such a horrible season, or stage I should say, for Stage 3 of 2021. It looked like for a long time CYCLOPS were going to be in one of the bottom places in APAC North, which is unbelievable to think after they went to the Mexico Major through first seed from APAC North, and even there they nearly knocked out Team 1, the Brazilian team that ended up the eventual championship. CYCLOPS almost beat them in group stage and knocked them out. It went to a tiebreaker map because they were even on all the other tiebreakers. They were even on points, they were even on head-to-head results, on round difference. It came down to a rematch. That's how good CYCLOPS are. They can take it to even the best teams in the world, but we just haven't seen that in Stage 3, and that's exactly what we need to see from them.
Absolutely, we do. And look, there's some exciting little bands coming out of this band phase too. Finca is certainly starting to creep up into some more regularity in those bands. We've seen the strength that Finca has brought to attack lineups throughout Stage 3 in particular. So big fan of that. And similar story for Rooney on the defense. It can really have a big impact in some of those rounds.
Roni diff, man. There's no more Ronies in the server.
That's it.
The P10 Roni has been completely banned out. Everyone's favorite laser beam on defense. Mozzie gone. Aruni gone. What is this? I mean, I think there's obviously, it's another layer than the gun, right? Like Mozzie's so good, just like Aruni is at denying droning. And Mozzie can really, in particular, like you put the Mozzie vests on the hatches, you put them on door frames, on windows, you can really catch out the droning. But already we're getting to see some spice, right? Like we have this unusual operator veto, we have the least commonly picked bomb site choice taken here on Cafe as a mining fireplace defense, and we have a Glaz. Like, could we ask for anything more?
Yeah, and on the point of the site, played once in the entire stage for APAC South, twice in the entire stage for APAC North. That's across 10 map plays of Cafe. It really is rarely played. So CYCLOPS playing a really solid hand of cards, so to speak, in this first round. And I'm loving their operator lineup for it. They've got a lot of opportunity to gather early info through the Valkyrie and the Echo with those Yokai drones if they want to play them a little more aggressively. Makes me think they will, because they've got a Gator there on that Vigil. You know, he's probably not going to be playing on site. He's going to try and play elusive. So yeah, playing that heavy early intel game is what it looks like from CYCLOPS.
A big talking point for Elevate is their roster change. Nerek's coming on board, the newbie, and he has seemed to have a pretty strong performance so far, but it is early days. One big factor for Elevate is they have such a high ceiling, right? They're such a strong team, they're such an aggressive team, but we've seen them crumble under pressure time and time again. Stage 2, they were so close to qualifying for the Mexico Major, and they lost to IG. Come playoffs, they were so close once again to qualifying for the Mexico Major, and they lost to IG. Surely it won't happen again. Surely Elevate won't let it slip through their fingers one more time.
Yeah, look, you wouldn't blame them to carry a little bit of trauma around that. Just IG shutting them out constantly throughout the year in terms of major appearances cannot be good. So yeah, I think Elevate, they've got to show up early and just give themselves such a solid position to qualify. At least for them, they don't have to worry about IG being in this bracket. You know, they can't, you know, end another major run for them.
It's true. But of course, CYCLOPS will not be an easier opponent to take down than IG. We're seeing Elevate start getting to work on some map control. There's a lot of verticality on this bomb site. All of the floor in Piano leads straight down into Train, which connects the two bomb sites. You can see that hatch is already open, but it's not as simple as getting there and start getting to work because of that mirror window over near Cocktail, at Sheets, at Pallets, whatever you want to call it. Blue, this position has 100 different names. And this mirror window facing into Piano with these long lines of sight is going to make it very tricky for Elevate to navigate.
It is, and already you can see here 2 minutes off the clock. Elevate still trying to surmount themselves something in this push. They're trying to take this Piano control, get vertical in towards side, so they can set something up. But Cyclops, just with this early aggression and difficult to tackle setup, it has really stalled out Elevate. I just can't believe, looking back at the clock, how little time they've got. They're going to have to try and make something explosive work in through mining here.
But both of these teams love to be explosive. I wouldn't put it past Elevate yet. In a 5-on-5, this could be first blood. It's Sapper with the DMR, struggling to land shots onto Gatorada on the other side. Napew's taken Cocktail control, but there is 18 seconds left on this clock, and Elevate are the first blood. As Gator opens this round with the K1A, Elevate dropping now into sight, but it's into the waiting arms of CAG, and it looks like Elevate have fallen to pieces. Cyclops take the first round on an off bomb site choice.
Very, very wild in the end there, but yeah, it was a good choice from Cyclops and a really great setup. Elevate just looked stunned, to be quite honest with you. They just took so much time trying to get into the map and just obtain some kind of control. Everything that Cyclops had set up through that early info, it meant they knew what was happening at all times. They had some really good pressure onto Cyclops through those yokais. You saw a couple of concussions come out, and even that Vigil, I'm sure we didn't actually directly see the hindrance it had, but even if he was playing from the lower floor, those signals can still really affect the drone work on that top floor. Great round from Cyclops right there, and yeah, look, if I'm Elevate, definitely want to step it up from that round because that was a bit poor.
Defenders, protect your bombs from being
It's quite funny, we always talk about both of these teams being very aggressive, even for the APAC region. But Cyclops seem to be better at taming that aggression. You look at that round, for example, they relied on their strategy. They just kind of sat there, sat back, waited for Elevate to just burn time. And in the end, that's what mattered, right? Elevate just pushed with not enough ground, not enough info, and not enough picks to really execute. So Cyclops seem to be getting the read on Elevate for now, but of course, they can't rely on an off bomb site choice every round.
10 seconds left before
Definitely can't. And you know, it's one of those things, it's only going to work one round. You're only going to surprise your opponents. Well, in theory, you should only be surprising your opponents once. So look, that worked out for them. That's really good. Really good to see, honestly, that they're sticking their attack, their operator lineup. I love the Echo Valkyrie combo. Great amounts of info. You can see that's already 2 outside Valkyrie cameras. We're not seeing an IQ brought from Elevate, so if they're not hard scouting these cameras could stay up for a majority of the round.
Oh, they did find that one on the west side, but still a lot of vision on the north. And look at this aggression from Gatorada now. Could well be punished. There's still info outside the CAG. Gatorada, if he loses his life here, that is a serious frag off the board. Oh, and there was a drone on him. Was that lit up? Did that see him? Oh no, he gets one! Onigiri once again, the first blood.
Rough starts here for Elevate, and on top of the fact that they just lost first blood to that, 45 seconds even wasted completely of them just trying to approach the building. When Cafe attacks in general are quite standardized, you get to the roof, you generally push top down. So taking so long to get to the roof just means that the rest of that attack kind of has to progress a bit quicker. And we already saw Elevate stalled out so much in that first round. So this has just, again, been a really great defense start from Cyclops. Some might say a little unconventional, but at the end of the day, Elevate is certainly a team you want to take the pace off. Talked about they enjoy being explosive. It's the same early game, but that is unfortunate for Gatorada, looking completely above DCH's head. And at least for Elevate, they've equalized that man count.
That's the thing with aggression, right? It can work both ways, and for every pick you might get, you might make a bad read, you might be punished. Elevate has somewhat salvaged this now, taking down the Valk, but of course there's a lot of info that Cyclops can just sit on and wait. You've got the Yokais, you've got Black Eyes from Valk. It's going to make it very difficult now. Oh, Nerix! He's so lucky to have won that fight. on the last bullet of the Type 89, and that is numbers advantage, Elevate.
Yeah, Capcan still being a bit of a menace as well. Just had a trap detonated. I believe it was Sapper. He's the one down on 50 HP as Elevate continue to fight for this top floor control. But yet again, look at the clock. Only 40 seconds. The fact they haven't been able to push across, pressure cocktail, or even take that control, that means vertical play in towards reading isn't going to come into a factor. They're either going to have to force something in through train, or again, it's just going to come down to some kind of chaotic execute.
And it's got to at this point, but Elevate do have numbers advantage. Airgator flanking up from red. We've caught it on the obs, and now Airgator has a power position and a rotate hole. He could peek into pillars, but there's the air jab. Surely the punish to come through, but there's absolutely no clue. DCH punished in the back, and Airgator now refragged up. It's all on Suzu, and Elevate may have just made this one work. It's a post-plant 1 versus 3 for the smoke. He finds the first. Napew and Nerix now have to hold out to find their first round of this match, but it looks like Suzu's caught in such a difficult position, walking dead into a crossfire, and he doesn't last long. Elevate fight back.
Really good of them to salvage that, honestly. Cyclops had everything going in their favor to be able to hold that defense, but Elevate, they ran and they gunned and they managed to make it work. So look, hats off, because up until that point, Cyclops had just played that really well. It was the early round stall from the spawn peak from Gatorada, and then all up until the last 25 seconds, it just felt like Elevate were about to be walking into a trap, so to speak. But no, they handled it really well, and that's a really good sign to have bounced back from.
Across both APAC North and APAC South for Stage 3, Cafe has been a defender-sided map. A little bit more so in North, but it's been played for about 10 rounds more. 64% defense win rate. So you would expect a 4-2 half for the defense. And just below that, 57, but that's similar. You kind of expect a 4-2 half for defense in South. So both of these teams are going to be gunning for as many attack rounds as possible. And for Elevate to have already found one 2 rounds in, that's a pretty strong start in my opinion. And while we really praised Cyclops in that opening round and mentioned that Elevate looked lost, it hasn't taken too long for Elevate to find that mojo, get it back.
Yep, definitely. And look, it's something that is hard to correlate between North and South, but it feels like in the past we've often seen attack win percentages be slightly higher on South. I don't have exact data to back that up. I remember looking at it for Stage 2. Thank you. Because the one thing that's standing out to me is, while this map is traditionally definitely defender-sided on both North and South, we have stats that back that up. However, Elevate actually played a very attacker-favored Cafe just in Playday 7 last week against Invictus Gaming. Both 4-2 halves for the attack. Attack in the end was the decider, really, for that whole game. So, look, I feel like Elevate certainly have an upper hand if they can stay in it in this attack half. Maybe there's evidence there that CAG might struggle on their attacks, and look at that already. Elevate starting to further adapt to what Cyclops are throwing at them with these spawn peaks.
And that's the first time we've seen Elevate find the opener. Fantastic punish early on. Black Ray goes down. No trade as well. Nothing gained whatsoever for Cyclops on the back of that. You mentioned the information gathering. A little bit less this time. No longer the Yokais of Echo, which we've seen can be so strong on this downstairs kitchen defense. Especially with the way Elevate play, especially when it comes down to those final 5 to 10 seconds of the round when Elevate are trying to execute those Yokais could be deadly. But Cyclops going for a more aggressive lineup, and they may get punished. Speaking of aggression, look at this from Airgator. Napew's watching it, but it'll only see the swing if it's wide. Suzu peaks one, and this is just peak Cyclops at the moment.
Yeah, look, really good teamwork there from Cyclops to be able to figure out that player was deep in bakery, where exactly they were, and how to back it up. A good swing from Suzu in prep. Now, Nerix has entered.
He's dead.
Not sure if Airgator knows, though. He's got a C4 prep. There's a second player there. This could net 2.
Oh!
He's just going to pop up and use the bullets anyway. Really beautifully done here from Cyclops to retain that bakery control.
Oh, and you could say, look, why are you guys spawn peeking? Why are you playing aggressive? You're losing these picks, but they're getting more than they're losing. So if Cyclops' strength lies in reading when to be aggressive, how to be aggressive, then I say lean into your strengths.
Absolutely agree. Now 55 seconds. This is going to make it a lot tougher for Elevate. Only 3 players against 4. And we've already seen time management difficulties in general. So once again, Elevate kind of putting it on their shoulders to have to do something just a little wild. They're going to have to try and make some really big shots hit and just force their way through, because no hard breach means no extra rotation. They're going to have to funnel through prep or funnel down red, and Cyclops are really well set up to counter this.
Ooh, good flash. AAK to blind. Good info though of the CAG, and Blackray can sit in those Valk cams. The Suzu holds onto the site. 20 seconds left, and Elevate, they look to go upstairs, but Cyclops are just waiting to receive. It's all on Aguirre now, and he doesn't last very long at all. Cyclops, another very dominant round from them, makes 2 in the match so far.
Starting to feel like a really nice and exciting kind of back and forth match that we're in for here. Seeing both teams adapt to each other really well. You know, we saw Elevate actually get the opening kill this time around. They didn't get as stalled out as they approached the building. That was a really big win for them, but Cyclops kind of doubled down on their classic playstyle, their classic aggression. They did not let Elevate comfortably take that bakery, which was a really clear, significant part of their push. And that's where it really just all derailed for Elevate on that one. So hats off to Cyclops.
It's funny, the one round that Elevate won was very, very close, but the 2 rounds that Cyclops have won so far, let's be honest, like, they have not looked like a contest. Which is funny considering that we've had an opening pick against them, like you just said. And yet Cyclops, they're just so good at that aggression, knowing when to play it. Even if they lose the opening pick one round, they'll find the next 2 picks the next round, or the next 3 picks. And Elevate are just really struggling to contain the beast that is Cyclops.
Back to mining and dining. I tell you what, this is going to be a really big call now for Elevate. Have they adapted to what Cyclops did in that first round? Sure, it might have caught them off guard, but now this is a big tell. The lineup is not particularly different. In fact, I think it's primarily the same. I'm going to open your match tracker because that's going to tell me. And
it is almost exactly the same.
Yes, it is almost exactly the same. Biggest difference is Malusi over the Legion, but either way, I don't think that's going to change up the strat a whole amount. But yeah, again, it's going to be very, very key here that Elevate read into how Cyclops played this in round 1 and just try and figure out the adaptation.
Are you talking about Malusi and Legion reminded me? Remember when Malusi had the T5 SMG? Remember when she had Legion's gun?
Oh,
like
yeah.
when she was released? Yeah, how funny is that? The little things that you remember.
True.
She was so
Bomb
good.
located by attacker.
She was so very good. I mean, she still is. But hey, let's see how Elevate can go here. Anderson with the shotgun, the supernova on Echo. I love it, but I also hate it. I really do.
I feel like we've actually seen that on a few occasions lately across different teams, and on a lot of those occasions, you see them just get absolutely punished trying to take long gunfights at that bearing 9, and it's just not really working out outside of sight architecture.
Look, I'm a bearing 9 enthusiast, always have been, always will be, but yeah, I mean, it's good for about 5 meters, and that's it. All right, so it looks like Elevate once again looking to take top down, and once again, Cyclops have the mirror window pallets to try and contest. Construction. What are we gonna? Can we agree on something to call it? Because I've never like settled on a call out for that top white position.
I always call it blue or tarps. So
tarps. That's it. Yeah, tarps. I like tarps. It's actually gonna play aggressive in white now. Oh!
Gatorada, how did he get away with his life there? So lucky that DMR with its damage output just tears through people if you hit some shots. Really good pressure from Elevate, but yet again, starting to get a little low on time management. Feels like it's definitely better from round 1. This is going to be such a key moment here from Onigiri as he pushes across bar. He's got an APU to back up. Can they find a pick out of this? Doesn't look like it. In fact, Cyclops have read into it beautifully. They've dropped off. But the key win is that they actually have full vertical control now of this top 4.
Definitely strong asset for Elevate, but okay, the pick also helps through the vert. That's a really good read. And Anderson goes down, so no more Yokais tonight plans. Onigiri immediately traded back though, thanks to Aegator, and still Cyclops have some rats in the woodwork. They have some players downstairs.
some really tough positions to flush out to. Black Ray in particular behind that mirror. They're going to have to hard push on that. It looks like it's going to be mostly towards dining. Still hard to telegraph at this point, but there's some really good positions here. Tough to flush out from Cyclops. Elevator got to go.
Oh, and they do, and Napew finds his double! But there's still the C4 below. Suzu doesn't have the info. Aegator is crushed on the attempt, and Suzu absolutely hopeless and helpless in the 1 versus 4 as we hear Napew's LMGE rings out. It looks like Elevate have put the money in the bag and are escaping the building. Suzu, not much he can do. He's got his own mirror window working against him, and there is just no chance he can make this work. The irony that Nerix wins it from the mirror window. A fantastic collapse from Elevate.
Yeah, that sums it up so well. They actually really used that time to just get themselves ready. It was a little difficult to read exactly how they were going to flush that out, but I tell you what, once they hit the go button, they did a great job just isolating their Cyclops players, getting the picks, and just like that, they had site control, and there was nothing left for Cyclops to do. The other thing certainly concerning for me was that Cyclops towards the end ended up not really having any idea where the plant was going down. You know, we had to see a bit of a guess from the C4 below, also tried to shotgun behind the bomb chassis and dining. It was just nowhere near. So unfortunately, a lot of that intel that was brought by Cyclops is not working out well for them. And you have to say, great job to Elevate. It was such a good adaptation to how round 1 went to be able to turn that into their favor.
I saw a tweet earlier today, I think it was from another esport, but it was someone saying, casters really love having a match on their hands. But I just want to say it, I just want to say, well, it looks like we've got a match on our hands. Because it certainly feels that way. Elevate, I mean, it's crazy to think, right? The 2 rounds Cyclops have won were absolutely, piss easy for them. They just took Elevate by storm. And the 2 rounds Elevate have won have been so tense and so last minute and so close. But at the end of the day, a round win is a round win. And now Elevate have hit the 2 that they need to meet the average across APAC for attack wins in a half.
Yeah, and I would say that it starts to get a little bit, maybe a little bit stressful for Cyclops, because they really are going to be wanting to get that 4-2 half lead. It always helps to go into your attack half, or just second half in general, obviously, with a bit of an advantage. It allows that buffer to adjust to the swap of sides and just ensure that your lead doesn't start to run away from you super quickly. So if Elevate managed to make this even a 3-3, I tell you what, I would potentially heavily back them in to be able to take this game. I think these next 2 rounds are very important for Cyclops to hold on to a lead.
So how can they do on reading? This was where Elevate found their first win. Cyclops couldn't rely on that pocket pick of mining twice. Elevate have just, honestly, it looked like they just took a moment to warm up. And once they realized, oh, yeah, I forgot we're playing against Cyclops, they're going to peek everything. And once they realized that, it's been fine, sunshine and rainbows. And while they are slow on these attacks, you kind of need to be. You really do. And, the last 2 rounds, they found the opening pick.
Yeah, it feels like it's kind of switched from stall to calculation in terms of their time management. Like this first couple of rounds really felt like they just were struggling as opposed to figuring out how to deal with Cyclops, but now it feels different. They feel like they're more confidently setting themselves up to be able to shut this down. 90 seconds in, look at this, already really good progress across bar. They're going to be able to try and push for this vertical control nice and early here. It's going to be so key to have more options into that kind of execute phase.
The lack of C4 play here for Cyclops is missing them out on some free kills. Napew could be a dead man. Oh, speaking of, another fantastic opening from the Zoth player, and he looks so ready to clear Black Ray's position, and he destroys the bar as well. Surely he doesn't lose this fight. Black Ray taken down. Napew is a machine.
Yep, he is a bit of a machine. Maybe he's kind of the cyborg of TIE Siege, but great job from Elevate, honestly. They've got a 2-man advantage right here. They've got great vertical control. Sapper goes early to push Dining, and just like that, Cyclops have actually answered back with 2. So coming into this final 30 seconds,
Attackers recovered the bomb.
Elevate slowly losing that kind of advantage that they had.
There comes the C4s, but finds nothing. Napier still alive, still in the server. 9 kills and 2 deaths at the moment. You can't call it until the fat lady sings. 15 seconds and she is warming up. There's info on this plant, but there's no CAG players left to deny. Gatorada for the flank. It's all on him as he sees Napier round the corner. DCH has to cover. It's all on Gatorada, but the pistol from DCH. That's Elevate taking the lead.
And that is a really big round win. I mean, I was prefacing a little bit at the start of the round here. It feels like CYCLOPS, they need to hold on to at least a defense advantage. Feels like it's more of an unknown going into their attack half, whether they are going to kind of excel on it or not. But we felt like Elevate would excel on theirs, and they are showing up. So it's just going to put a lot more pressure into CYCLOPS' attack half. If Elevate managed to steal this away to be a 4-2 half in their favor, oh, I feel like that is honestly such a tough little battle that CYCLOPS are going to have in the second half, and I would feel much more confident to say Elevate could be taking this one.
We're definitely seeing a lot of fire from Elevate on their attack, and statistically, this is across all of 2021, across all leagues that they play. So, you know, albeit this does include the Elevate's national circuit, which they tend to dominate. But Elevate have a 59% attack win percentage on this map. 59% of the rounds that they play on the attack are wins. You look at the league average for APAC North, and it's a 43% attack win rate. So Elevate punch above their weight on the attack significantly. And you look at the CYCLOPS side of things, only 53%. So even though CYCLOPS are above average, right? I mean, we're casting playoffs, so of course these teams are above average. But CYCLOPS just can't touch Elevate's attack win rate on this map. And, well, that means step one, CYCLOPS really have to get a move on with these defenses. And even though they've won 2 dominant ones, like we say, a dominant round win is still just 1 round win. It equals the same as a 1v1 clutch. And so CYCLOPS need to get a move on their defense. And like you said, they need to be really, really equally strong on their attacking side to have a hope here. This is only a best of 1.
Yeah, I think definitely the concern there too is Elevate looked like, you know, after a couple of rounds, kind of like what you said, it felt like Elevate were kind of just warming up a little bit. And it looked like Elevate, they just have done a great job reading how CYCLOPS are setting up, how CYCLOPS were playing out their defenses, and then they've adapted really well on how to deal with it. So 1 round to go on the defense, CYCLOPS, the onus is kind of on them. Their half isn't over. They need to adapt to how Elevate is dealing with this and try and pull something a little different out, because otherwise Elevate are going to carry that confidence. They're going to get this round, and they'll bring that into their defenses.
There's one man that we've been looking at for Elevate who's been head and shoulders above the rest. It's this guy right here, Napier. 5.0 KD so far, 2 kills per round on average. This Zephyr has been doing God's work. Does walk straight into that line of sight. Takes a bit of damage for it, but he deals some back as well, and they're looking to contest. You've got to be very careful what you wish for when it comes to Napier.
This is some very dangerous little early verticals here from Elevate, and they get that opening. That was a beautiful flick from Napier through the bars. DCH backs it up. This is looking good for Elevate. Just over a minute yet to play. But CYCLOPS, this is fast falling apart. 2 players have dropped below to contest this step. That means only 1 on site.
That's insane. That's the 3rd player from CAG who has dropped downstairs to contest this roam clear and contest the vertical play. But like you said, that does leave Aegator stranded upstairs as the sole player. And it looks like Elevator starting to read that. That's a very unusual mirror window, but it does net Aegator a kill and evens up this man count.
It does, and really rough there from the piano player. Just not really paying attention to the mirror. 2 Elevate players low as well, so this is certainly a winnable position for CYCLOPS. They've started to retake some good spots coming back to that top floor. Elevate, they're going to have 2 players on the roof for this 30 seconds, so we might see a bit of a skylight drop here. Aegator is going to be a linchpin for this one.
And he falls back and then recontests the concussion. does hit him. Nerix for the plant, but Alligator, if he swings, he could deny. The flashbang goes out. Will the C4 land? It's too late and too wide, but Alligator can swing the planter, and in the retake, it's 2 CAG players against 2 from Elevate. Low HP, what a shot from Alligator! It's all down to DCH to clutch to win the half. And CYCLOPS are hitting that diffuser. That's the one they won! Elevate! With the 1v2 clutch from DCH, take a further lead, 4 rounds to 2.
Oh my word! What a play from DCH, what a play from Elevate yet again. CYCLOPS, they tried, you know, they went for a different site. They played it a little bit different. They tried to get even extra aggressive in that mid-round, dropping to contest the verticals, but all for naught. A great little clutch from DCH. Honestly, that was just a beautiful little two-piece to end it. And wow, what a half from Elevate. 4-2 on the attack. This puts them in such a great spot to close out this first playoffs match.
It does feel like Elevate are on the rise here. CYCLOPS, what's happened in Stage 3, Raven? It's been heartbreak hotel here for CYCLOPS. They were the best team in APAC North in Stage 2. In Stage 2, yeah, and in Stage 1, they were so close as well. The only team above them, Cloud9, now Mantis roster. But Stage 3 has been a kick in the gut. And this team for such a long time has stuck with this roster through thick and thin, but mostly through thick, let's be honest. Like, this team has been through a lot of really significant achievements. And I always thought that this roster was world class. I always thought they could win world championships with more time and experience. But to see them now falling down this rabbit hole, it's heartbreaking.
5 seconds to insertion.
It is really heartbreaking. And look, it kind of feels somewhat reminiscent to what we saw from the Knights as well in Stage 3.
Absolutely.
You know, like, both champions of their kind of region in Stage 2 and just, I don't know, like, it's just dissipated. Hard to say what it is. Both stable rosters, long-term rosters, but yeah, it's sad to see. Now, look, CYCLOPS is still in this, of course. They can bring this back in the attack half, but that momentum swing was just massive from Elevate. It really felt like they took control of this game, and I don't know, like, I certainly haven't caught all of CYCLOPS' game in APAC North Stage 3, but I don't know whether they would be tilted or whether they just have it in them based on the form that it looks like we've had from them in Stage 3.
This is certainly an exciting prospect for Elevate.
Attackers have located a bomb.
It's always been the pressure, always, that gets to them, and we talk about it so much. We talked about it when Cheese failed to get what we thought was essentially a free win over Order, right? And to qualify for Sweden, rather. And we've seen it with Elevate in Stage 2, when time and time again they just were shy qualifying for Mexico. Now it's within their grasp to go forth in this playoffs bracket. We've seen them here before in Stage 2, and they couldn't hack it against the big dogs. CYCLOPS, no doubt one of the most challenging teams for Elevate in this bracket. They've got to get past them to march on forward.
Just to super quickly touch on this lineup as well, I love it. You know, it's another form of intel gathering that's very different to how CYCLOPS did it. In this instance, we're seeing it from the Pulse and the Maestro, even to an extent on that Warden. But it's just, yeah, it's a very different way to do it to CYCLOPS, to see whether it works out. Nerix, though, the smoke here has been the opening death. Now, that could really come back to bite Elevate. They are just such crucial utility pieces when it comes to plant denial, and even just slowing down the execute on this top floor.
Oh, it's an angle. Onigiri, and a good one. Prone shot, and the nade! Oh my, that's what he was doing. And that was the play for CAG. 45 seconds, another nade through as Gatorada swings into heaven. Let's see what he can do. This is a power position for CYCLOPS as the smokes go through. Black Ray also pushing forward, likely to find a fight here against DCH. Quite aggressive as Alligator starts to put this down, and Gatorada for the cross. CYCLOPS starts swinging on their attack.
You love to see that. That is a really good starting round there on the attack from CYCLOPS. Now, we did cast a little bit of doubt or question over how they might fare as they rotate to their attacks, but that was honestly, that was fantastic. You know, they only lost one player, and just the setup for that execute was really great. You know, small details, using the uncooked nade to aid the safety on the rappel into cocktail heaven, as he called it, to smoke off the double doors, so then that cocktail player on the defense was isolated, so they could just go and absolutely flush that backstore player from Elevate. It was really well executed from CYCLOPS. But again, we saw them start really well in the first half, and Elevate started to adapt and counter it really well. So, I don't know, maybe we're in for a similar fate here, or maybe CYCLOPS might just be on that comeback train.
It's funny to think that these teams actually haven't played each other all year long. Because in stage 1, we didn't have playoffs, or we did have playoffs. CYCLOPS played them, but Elevate skipped it because they came first. They just went and beat Cloud9 at the time, now Mantis, in the stage championship match. In stage 2, it was kind of the roles reversed. CYCLOPS got that #1 spot in APAC North. They went direct to the major. Elevate played through playoffs. This is the first time that both of these teams have actually found themselves both playing in the playoffs. The last time they would have versed each other was way back in 2020 of APAC North. I believe it was the APAC North finals. I'm trying to find it right now. Must have been. Let me go to this up.
Go for
Oh no, that was that. Yeah, look. You just keep on talking. I'm gonna keep looking for this. It's gonna take. I'm gonna have to go down to the library, get out the old dusty tomes, and have a read.
You do that. Good thing there's a library on this map as well. But no, look, I like this from Elevate, that they have gone for top floor once again, and they must feel confident that they can identify something that went wrong, whether it was through that early game or something with the execute. I certainly feel like losing Nerix in particular was a really key loss for them. That opening death being the smoke player, it's never great. And look, it shouldn't all be down onto one player, but it's just so crucial to be able to stall this out. Now, there is an early gunfight here. Oh my lord, DCH. So lucky to have not lost his head through the wall.
Come to think of it, it's been a hell of a long time since these teams played each other. It was back in the November major last year, almost a year ago, back when we had the mini majors, the APAC North mini major. These teams were consistently locked in 3rd and 4th best in the region at the time. And CYCLOPS seemed to be the better team originally, and then Elevate bit back. But now CYCLOPS is keen to even up the scoreline here on Cafe as Onigiri goes down.
Yeah, I'm not looking good for Elevate's Onigiri in particular. Actually having quite a quiet game now. He was very instrumental against Invictus Gaming on Playday 7 as they almost qualified for the Sweden Major direct through that game. So certainly going to be affecting them seeing him fairly quiet. But this has been a really good start yet again from CYCLOPS in the round. First 2 minutes in, they've got some fantastic map control. Already put a lot of pressure on Elevate. Got that opening pick. This is all progressing perfectly.
Minute to go. Black Ray, oh, he's so close to punishing Napier, but Napier is in such an unusual position. Surely he dies here. There is no way Napier does not die here. Oh, he reveals his position. Black Ray still has no goddamn clue. He's like, where is that player? Finally spots him, but Napier playing whack-a-mole. He does pop up and take down one player. Nerix is in such a precarious position, but he finds one. Ayagate has gone deep into sight, and the trend of Zafia mains popping off on this game is turned up to 11, 30 seconds. CYCLOPS have got to find that diffuser, but first they find Napier. It's all on DCH, and he is all the way downstairs. He's got to go for a jog, and I hope he's bought his sportswear because it's a long way back to site to try and retake.
Yep, and he doesn't have much time as well. That timer flipped against him now that that plant is down. And look, 3 players to find. It's going to be very tough for DCH. I think if I'm Elevate, certainly start to take this time to even use a bit of a pseudo tack timeout. Just talk through some of the things that are going wrong here, because this is now 2 failed attempts on the top floor. Of course, DCH could still clutch this, but he's only got 18 seconds to do so. And finally, he is going to be shut down by Gatorada. And just like that, Dev, CYCLOPS have whittled away Elevate's lead, and now we're tied at 4-4.
Indeed, CYCLOPS have been fiery on their attacking side. They lost 3 defenses in a row to close out the first half, and now they found 2 attacks straight out of the gate, Elevate still struggling to find a defense whatsoever. This has got to be a cause for concern, neither team having taken a tactical timeout as of yet.
Yeah, and definitely starting to get in the territory where it could be needed, but look, Elevate aren't strangers to close games on Cafe in particular. I feel like I've referenced it a
for them
bunch.
recently?
Yeah, look, it didn't end up getting them a win, but it was a brutal 7-8 against Invictus Gaming. It was a very fun game, but no, look, this is
Bomb located by
definitely
attacker.
familiar territory, and I'm really happy to see that they've changed up the bomb site now. I think it was probably not a good call to go to the top floor. It felt like their first attempt for me was just very obvious a fail. It just felt like there was so much wrong with it, and that Cyclops found those flaws and picked it to pieces. I think especially on Cafe, we've seen it already through Cyclops' defenses. Most of these sites, if not all of them, are viable in their own right. Most teams can play at least 3, if not all 4. So just rotate through, you know, keep your opponents guessing. Don't let them ride the wave of such a good attack back to back on the same site.
We've talked a lot about defense, attack side, and both these teams having above average attacks. Well, when Elevate played IG just the other day, there were only 4 defense rounds won out of 15 rounds played. Like, that's like, what, just above 25% defense win rate? That is unbelievably low. Like, the most attacker-sided map in the game wouldn't have an average anywhere near that low. And so perhaps we're seeing that Elevate have been struggling on their defenses. In fact, they lost in overtime to IG because all of overtime was attack rounds and they started defense. And that's going to be the same case here. Elevate, if this pushes to OT, will be on the defending side, giving Cyclops the advantage if they can push this through.
So true. And Black Ray just drops right to danger, like absolute danger. 2 players were there ready for him and he just looks completely unaware. I'm not sure what just happened there, and I'm gobsmacked. But hey, that's going to be great for Elevate. It's the first time they've found the open pick on the defense side. It's going to help them to try and claw this one back for sure.
The usage of the Twitch, what's she looking for though? Anything particular? A lot of drones down here near VIP, and there Jaeger spotted. Suzu starts to push on through. Airgator's going to be on the entry here. He needs to land this shot, sees him, but that's a nice peek from DCH. He lands it against Airgator. Suzu going for the trade, and he does get it, just barely survives. And now CAG steal that man advantage back, but of course, it wouldn't be Elevate if they weren't fighting for everything they've got to get those trades.
Certainly a good trading team, but that was such an aggressive little entry there from Cyclops, identifying that they just needed to make something happen. Now this whole push is being telegraphed beautifully by this pulse of Sapphire. Elevate are going to know that they are hard pushing towards red, and they are setting up beautifully for that. Nerix, he's going to start to put the nail in the coffin. Gatorada on his shoulders now.
The rotate has been reinforced here in Bakery. A great mid-round adaptation from Elevate, ensuring there's no easy ingress into the site. And down in the hallway, that's Onigiri with the cheese skin, no less, to take down the last Cyclops player and finally break this drought that Elevate have faced on their defense.
Just such an important round for Elevate for obvious reasons, but also just to try and stop some momentum. I mean, Cyclops getting 2 in a row is not something you really want to happen. First time in the whole game that they were able to get a back-to-back round as well. So just stunting that, and also it's at the tail end of the round where just 1 round win really matters. Elevate on 5 now, which means they can at least force overtime in 1 round win. 2 round wins gets them the dub. It just puts more pressure onto the shoulders of Cyclops, kind of helps them, you know, potentially just fold under their own mistakes. But this is a really interesting little 6-pick from the Lions, the IQ. We haven't seen IQ played the entire game yet.
I don't know, I feel like this game has toyed with my heart a little bit. I haven't really known what to read. Obviously, when we saw Cyclops have 2 such dominant defenses early in the match, I was like, okay, Elevate looked asleep. Didn't take long for them to wake up. And then when Elevate finished the half, 4-2, I was like, surely this is Elevate. And then Cyclops brought it back. Like, how can you predict this game? I don't know. I don't know where to sit anymore.
10 seconds left.
No, it's not easy. I just think APAC in general started to become like that. It's been really tough to predict. Certainly North was quite a tough stage to predict this one around. Like we already talked about Cyclops, perfect example of just somehow really dropping off on form. So yeah, it's just not easy. Elevate as well, they've been quite up and down in stage 3. At one point we weren't too sure that they would break into playoffs, and they really fought hard to get back in the playoff contention and even almost got that direct invite to Sweden. So yeah, look, tough to predict. This match is just going very likely to be overtime, and once again, tough to predict.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Nice opener for CAG, and no opportunity for a refrag there from Elevate. We're also finally seeing Anderson on his favorite, the infamous Monty. And I want to know whether we see some pistol drop shots, because he kind of coined that. He's the one that popularized that absolute headache of a strategy. And, you know, Anderson's been such a strong shield player forever, and so you definitely have to take a moment when you see him on it in the server.
Yeah, it certainly is a frustration. Kind of surprised that maybe CAG hadn't gone for it yet, but maybe just something keeping up their sleeve. But look, there he goes. DCH has managed to find the jump onto Anderson, so we're just not going to see that shield make a play at all. And Elevate just doing a great job here standing up to Cyclops.
Oh, and once again, it's Napew. Suzu looking for a trade here, bearing in hand. We've already talked about the recoil on that gun. Not the easiest, and that's a bit of an understatement. Now CAG have got to pick up the diffuser and pick up the pieces of this attack round. Alligator has been a very strong player in this match so far, and if anyone is capable of clutching up, isolating some ones and winning them, I would put it on his shoulders.
Attackers recovered the bomb diffuser.
There's so much info still for Elevate.
Scanning for electronics.
Thing is, Cyclops just haven't really managed to get much control. Two Cyclops players very split here. You know, Suzy C is still on the red stairs. And we've got Alligator coming up the brown stairs, just trying to clear some info, but he's telegraphed exactly where he is, and he's going to be caught off guard by Onigiri. Doesn't land the kill though. So still gives him an opportunity to clutch it out. Runs back up, and Onigiri finally finishes it off. Now, Suzu, has he got it in him to get this 1v4 to try and salvage this for Cyclops?
Nah, not happening. Surely not. This looks to be an Elevate match point. It's a lot of time, but I mean, no way he makes that work. Walking into the crossfire. And there you have it, Elevate. That was an excellent way for them to fight back. Looked a bit sketchy there for a moment, but on round 11, we have match point for the tie in this first BO1 of the playoffs.
And just like that, Cyclops, they're finally taking their attack timeout. Their back is firmly against the wall here. Elevator on match point. Cyclops need to summon some energy, and they have to get 2 rounds in succession. They've only done it once this entire game. It was rounds 7 and 8. But again, Elevate have just done a beautiful job at figuring out what Cyclops are doing and how to adapt to it. And I don't know, I'm just not seeing Cyclops bring this one back, Dev.
It's hard to imagine, but let's remember that Elevate did something very similar on their attack. It was actually 3 rounds in a row. Also keep in mind that if Cyclops can push to overtime here, they will be starting on attack. They will have that advantage. And I mean, it's funny how the narrative has shifted from the start of today when I was talking about how defense-sided Cafe was. You'd expect a 4-2, but like, I mean, the stats don't lie in terms of these specific teams. Flourished on attack, Elevate against IG, flourished on attack, suffered on defense. And if this pushes to overtime, that will be 4 defense rounds won out of 12 played. Only a 30% win rate for the defensive side. So I think it's safe to say here that if Cyclops can pull this back, they should have every ounce of confidence in overtime. But they need these 2 rounds before they can start worrying about that.
Some good news for Cyclops, though, potentially, is that the site is going to have to be Bar Cocktail. I mean, it could have been Mining and Fireplace, but it doesn't look like Elevate seem to like playing that. So they're going to go to Bar Cocktail. It's the only site that they've lost, and of course they lost it twice in a row, so it's the only site that Cyclops have been able to win on the attacks. So look, if they're gonna get around, it should be this one. They should be able to bring this to be 6-5 and at least force Elevate to have to try and close it out on a different site, which would be Kitchen Cooking. That is the next one to become available again.
Does make you think that this is surely going to round
10
12,
seconds to insertion.
but even from there, obviously Elevate would then have
5 seconds to insertion.
Kitchen unlocked once again. So it is
Attackers are
hard,
moving out
tough
to
pill to
locate a
swallow to
bomb and
think that
defuse it.
Cyclops could push all the way to OT. But there's absolutely no doubt that of the last 3 rounds, this is the most likely bomb site they're going to take a win on here. I love that skin on the pistol. I don't know whether that's like a common, but I don't really know that one.
Yeah, I didn't recognize it, but it did look really cool. Not gonna lie.
Not every day you get to see really pistol skins.
Attackers have located a bomb.
Very, very true. I'm definitely one of those persons that people that just equip alls for like anything they use. So
There's only
A
one
bomb
charm
has
I
been
equip all, and
located.
I'm sure you can guess which one that is.
it's got to be the Kickstarter one, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Scanning for electronics.
Good.
That is.
As my friend would say.
It's not like I'm like, nah, it's the Halloween 2017 pumpkin head with glowing eye. No, it's the Kickstarter one.
Good lad.
So match point for Elevate. It's within their grasp, and they're certainly gunning for it after a gutting stage 2. Stage 3 has got to be their moment after it slipped through their fingers again during the regular stage. They find themselves once again in playoffs where they've never managed to finish in the top 3 of playoffs.
Already though, half the rounds are eroded away. Cyclops making some decent progress. Again, this has certainly been the site they've been most proficient at. Elevate firmly pushed back towards site to try and hold some deep positions. So they are starting to be sitting ducks. I did only see 4 outlines on site though. There is one over at the bottom of white stairs, it looks like, trying to get maybe a cheeky rappel peek or something, but either way, that could be the linchpin here for Elevate. Debut, he's creeping up red. He manages to get a big flank on here. That could be it for Cyclops.
Certainly, Mayhew's a man to watch, and he does find him. Oh, just so barely as well. Oh my God, the railings were there, and Elevate is here to stay. It looks like they will march forward in the bracket to the upper bracket, but not if Suzu has anything to say about it. He's found a double, and he's brought this back even for CAG, but 2 players on Cyclops are so low HP. With 30 seconds to go, there's not much time.
Not much time at all. 25 seconds. Anderton's still on the roof as well. It is 3 versus 3, so of course they do have that even man count, but these positions held by Elevate are fantastic to try and stunt this push.
But Anderton finds the opener here. Numbers advantage for Cyclops on their attack. They've got to push it now. Otherwise, they go down into the lower bracket. Nerix has got it holding on from backstore, and it looks like Anderton has no chance. Elevate, march forward into the bracket. They take down Cyclops, and they will face their second Japanese opponent in Guts Gaming in the upper bracket.
Really well fought from Elevate. I mean, a lot of us had confidence in Cyclops coming into this, but wow, after that first couple of rounds of the half split, that was kind of it. Elevate just did such a great job countering them. Napew really stepping up once again for Elevate. 15 kills to top the scoreboard. Really great win for Elevate, great win for APAC South here, and they're going to progress through this upper bracket.
A wounded Cyclops will have to lick their wounds in the lower bracket. A massive window on the flip side for the Tide.